Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you everyone for joining us for the Muslim American Society Daily Focus program. We have a great group of people who have joined us early. We have an excellent group. Just a moment here. Sorry for that. I was hearing myself on the YouTube broadcast. So that's the announcement there. Alhamdulillah, we're on YouTube Live tonight. You can check out the Muslim American Society page on YouTube. The broadcast is live there. You can use that to cast it to your TV if you want. Again, we should be on Facebook Live. So if someone's in the chat, MK, someone else, if you get a chance, let me know if those are rolling, and then we'll get started, inshallah. MashaAllah, we have a great session tonight with Dr. Nadeem Siddiqui and Sister Amani Kilawi, both, mass members as well as, running their own organizations and institutions, contributing to that great work that's happening across the country. And we have a great topic as well that I'm excited for us to be talking about, something that I think all of us will be able to reflect on. But as we normally do every evening, we kick things off with the ayat of Qur'an. And just before I hand it off to Sheikh Omar Jabi, who has joined us tonight, I will make one more announcement here. This is a special thanks again to the platinum sponsors, Islamic Relief USA and Mercy Without Limits. May Allah bless both of those organizations and everyone that's doing great work there. You can visit irusa.org/mass to give to their projects. They're putting together some great projects to support people during this time of COVID-19 and the current crisis. You can text them at IRUSA to the number 50155 to donate. And of course, Mercy Without Limits, a wonderful partner of ours, also doing excellent work here. They are at mwlimits.org. So Jazakallah khair to both of them. So we'll kick it off with Qur'an, and I'll just load up Sheikh Omar here and have him take off. All right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. For those of you that want to follow us on reading along in Qur'an Reflect or read the reflections there, you can find the ayat from Surah Al-Kahf. That's surah number 18, and the ayat will start from 93, and I'll continue with the English translation here as well. All right, Sheikh Omar, you can get started when you're ready, inshallah.
طيب. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم حتى إذا بلغ بين السدين وجد من دونهما قوما لا يكادون يفقهون قولا قالوا يا ذا القرنين إن يأجوج ومأجوج مفسدون في الأرض فهل نجعل لك خرجا على أن تجعل بيننا وبينهم سدا قال ما مكني فيه ربي خير فأعينوني بقوة أجعل بينكم وبينهم ردما آتوني زبر الحديد حتى إذا ساوى بين الصدفين قال انفخوا حتى إذا جعله نارا قال آتوني أفرغ عليه قطرا فما استطاعوا أن يظهروه وما استطاعوا له نقبا قال هذا رحمة من ربي فإذا جاء وعد ربي جعله دكاء وكان وعد ربي حقا وتركنا بعضهم يومئذ يموج في بعض ونفخ في الصور فجمعناهم جمعا وعرضنا جهنم يومئذ للكافرين عرضا الذين كانت أعينهم في غطاء عن ذكري وكانوا لا يستطيعون سمعا أفحسب الذين كفروا أن يتخذوا عبادي من دوني أولياء إنا أعتدنا جهنم للكافرين نزلا قل هل ننبئكم بالأخسرين أعمالا الذين ضل سعيهم في الحياة الدنيا وهم يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا أولئك الذين كفروا بآيات ربهم ولقائه فحبطت أعمالهم فلا نقيم لهم يوم القيامة وزنا أولئك الذين كفروا بآيات ربهم ولقائه فحبطت أعمالهم فلا نقيم لهم يوم القيامة وزنا ذلك جزاؤهم جهنم بما كفروا واتخذوا آياتي ورسلي هزوا إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات كانت لهم جنات الفردوس نزلا خالدين فيها لا يبغون عنها حولا قل لو كان البحر مدادا لكلمات ربي لنفد البحر قبل أن تنفد كلمات ربي ولو جئنا بمثله مددا قل إنما أنا بشر مثلكم يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه به أحدا.
Jazakallahu khairan. Jazakallahu khairan, mashallah. May Allah bless you. Thank you for that beautiful recitation. Again, these were the ayat at the end of Surah Al-Kahf, surah that we are reminded to read every week by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I hope that you had that opportunity today. I hope that we make it a regular practice of ours to read this surah, to reflect on it, and just to take a moment to reflect on one point here, that if Allah's words, if even the oceans were ink for the words of Allah, that would not be enough, even if an ocean was added to it. We have this vast ocean of the Qur'an that Allah has sent to us as a shifa, as a rahmah, a healing and a mercy for us, as a guidance for us. Let us sort of engulf ourselves in this ocean and dive deep into this ocean to study this Qur'an. So I hope that these ayat are a small reminder for us and a small reflection for us to start out and be inspired to make this Qur'an a companion in our lives. So the next part of this recitation, inshallah, will be from a few of the adhkar, or the prophetic supplications. And this will be, inshallah, Sheikh Omar, we will just read the last three ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah, and there's a narration from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's a good practice to make this as part of your morning and evening routine of reciting from ayats of Qur'an and from the du'as and supplications of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So this is reported by by Abu Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, and he reported that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that he said, if anyone recites the last two verses of Surah Al-Baqarah at night, they will avert harm from him. So if anyone recites the last two verses of Surah Al-Baqarah at night, they will avert harm from him. And this is related in Tirmidhi. So inshallah, Shaykh Ahmad, if you don't mind, we will recite these last three ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah.
So I don't know if you guys can hear me. I can't hear you. I don't know exactly what's going on.
Okay. So you can see me, but you can't hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay. Let's do this. We ran into this problem the other night, and I'm committed to figuring this out. All right. So we'll sort this out, inshallah. We'll have this resolved for everyone just shortly. I'll invite Sheikh Omar back, so hopefully we can continue with this section. And in the meantime, if Nadeem Siddiqui and Imad Kilawi are joining us as well, feel free to message me in the chat so I can find you guys easily and add you. Okay, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Omar. Can you hear me now? No. Okay. Yes, Ibrahim, Jazakallah khair. We can hear both of us. Let's see here. Let me see if I can get this to him using some less fancy technology. Just one moment. Okay, maybe this will work, and then we'll try to sort it out afterwards. Oh, thank you for posting in the message there.
So let me just can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Good, but I can't hear you. So let me just recite, right?
Okay.
Read.
Yes.
Right. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وإن تبدوا ما في أنفسكم أو تخفوه يحاسبكم به الله فيغفر لمن يشاء ويعذب من يشاء والله على كل شيء قدير. آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين.
Sadaqallah Nadeem. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Omar. I apologize. I sent you a message. We'll drop you off from here. We'll move forward, and then I'll have him back, inshallah, for the dua at the end. Again, the reminder is that the Prophet ﷺ taught this, of course, that these ayat, he said, related in Tirmidhi, that if anyone recites the last two verses of Surah Al-Baqarah at night, they will avert harm from him. So inshallah, we can make this a regular practice to memorize these ayat, to reflect on them, and to make them a daily part of our recitation in the morning and the evening, as a form of prophetic supplication that will improve our lives and improves our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, I'm going to add here, we're going to have in just a second. Let's go back here. We'll get these slides up, and this is just a reminder to everyone that if you would like, inshallah, to reflect on these ayat in particular, join us at Qur'anReflect.com. You can share reflections and read reflections from other, world-renowned scholars, or even just average people like myself and everyone else that we can share and participate and ask questions about the ayat of Qur'an to grow together. You can check out the hashtag coronavirus if you're on there. There's also a set of mass reflections at mass.quranreflect.com. So we encourage you to join there and to participate with those reflections. So here I'm going to add Nadeem Siddiqui, inshallah, and Amani Kilawi. Jazakallah khair to both of you. I will have you guys on here just shortly. Bismillah. And I have Nadeem here as well. And again, a reminder to everyone who's joining here, welcome to participate in the chat. Assalamu alaikum, Amani. You can hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right, good. We're not gonna touch anything. We're gonna let it roll as is.
Awesome.
And let me get him on in just a minute. Bismillah. So let's hope this is the right Nadeem. But they will be discussing, working from home in these challenging times and kind of the unique experiences that everyone is having. And I will have Nadeem on here shortly. Looks like he should be joining us. But again, this is the Mass Daily Focus program. We're really excited to have everyone joining us. Alhamdulillah, we've had this program going for almost 2 weeks now. And every evening, same time, it's a wonderful opportunity for us to connect together, to share some of these reminders, these reflections, to recite the ayat of Qur'an together and listen to it and pay attention to it, as well as to make dua together. So let's see here. I believe I have Nadeem. Assalamu alaikum, Nadeem. All right, excellent. So I have you both. I will get the slide up in the background, but I will hand it off to you both, inshallah, to introduce the topic in more depth and take it from here. And I encourage everyone who's in the chat or on the screencast with us, the live cast on Crowdcast, to participate and ask questions, and I'll be paying attention to those questions, as well as anyone who's on Facebook or YouTube. Thank you for joining us as well, and we'll try to capture your questions. Bismillah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. So Nadeem and I are really excited to jump in. Why don't we go ahead and start with introductions? I'll kick it off. Go ahead, Nadeem.
Go ahead, Amani. Why don't you go ahead and go through your session, actually. Go ahead.
Awesome. Okay, well, assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Amani Kilawi, co-founder of launchgood.com and a member of Mass since I was 14. And today we're really excited to talk about specifically working remotely. I've been working remotely for about 7 years, ever since we started LaunchGood. And it's sometimes a love and hate relationship. There's a lot of challenges, there's a lot of opportunities, but it's also an incredibly great time to experiment and try that now with everything that's happening. Now, a little bit about our process. We never really set out to be a remote team. We call it a distributed team. We have 25 team members in 5 countries, all different backgrounds, so you can imagine the type of coordination. Some of our team members work from home, some of our team members work from co-working spaces, but within all of that, we've learned some really cool strategies and tips that I hope to share today, and then inshallah have Nadeem talk about how do you bring that together from the standpoint of family. So the first thing I would say if you're starting to work from home as a young professional is your perspective, your mindset. For many of us, we've kind of been thrown into this, and if you've never done it before, you have to give yourself a little bit of permission to not be so productive right away, right? Don't expect to have the same level of productivity. Take it as an experiment, right? You're trying to understand what environment you need to work best in, what works best for you. In fact, all of America right now and the world is experimenting with remote work, albeit it's a very rushed experiment and kids are at home and all of that, but take it as an experiment. So first, be forgiving of yourself as you try to sort of figure out what's the right setup, and don't expect to have that productivity or the same productivity you might have had in the office. Although for some people, they actually are more productive when they're not in the office because they're not dealing with the same level of interruptions. Now, if you're an employer, and as an employer myself, I kind of take another aspect of this. Give your team time to figure this out, right? When you hired this team, ideally you brought in a team that you trust. And so sometimes we find that, some employers are kind of clamping down and asking for like 15-minute timesheets. And yeah, that might be a little too extreme, but you want to extend the same trust to your employees. And if you're the head of an organization, and you want to trust that just like you brought them on board and expected them to get the job done, that they're also going to try to do this when they're working remotely, that they're going to try to fulfill their responsibilities to you and to their families. So keep that perspective in mind. It's an experiment. We're all figuring this out, and that your productivity will eventually get there. Now, when you think about how do I do my best work and what do I need to do my best work, there's definitely some proven strategies. And the first thing I would say is try to wake up at the same time every day. Stick to your same sleep routine. There's already so many variables, right? Like you don't have your same office, you don't have your commute, et cetera, et cetera. So don't really try to mess with that. Keep that variable the same. Try to wake up at the same time. Try to go to sleep at the same time, because that'll help give you that consistency when so many things are changing. And you definitely don't want to work in your pajamas. I can't stress that. As comfortable as it might feel, do not work in your pajamas. It does not work. Try to go try to dress up as if you're going to work, and you don't have to necessarily go the whole 9 yards, but anything that's not your pajamas, because that really affects your psyche and how you decide to work, and how you decide to show up. So don't change your sleep routine. Don't work in your pajamas. Create this dedicated space. When we talk about that environment, try to create a dedicated space where you can work from. That might be a corner of the house, that might be part of the dining room table, that might be an office. Not everyone may have the luxury of having their own room to have an office, especially like I'm in the middle of seven. You don't always have that type of space sometimes. And so, as long as you have a area that you can go to, your brain starts to associate that with work, right? Don't work out of your bedroom. Don't try to work on your bed. When you try to go to sleep, your brain is going to associate, activity, and you're going to start thinking about work and all sorts of things. So have a dedicated space. And I know a lot of you are thinking like, okay, all of a sudden I have to have a home office. This came out of nowhere. But one thing I would challenge you is to be creative, right? There's a lot of things you have in your house now that could actually help build your home office until you make those Amazon orders and spruce up your home office. So, for example, if you need a desk or a standing desk, trust me, ironing boards work really, really well. So if you get an ironing board, it's the best stand-up desk you can have. It's at all heights. Everyone in my family's used them. So things like that, it could really help you set up your space, even when you don't have the time to get those things. We joked in my family about getting PVC pipes and setting up curtains, because we have so many curtains in the house, so that everyone has their own little cubicle, because at some point all of our conference calls were like merging into each other. So you can get really creative with that home setup. It's a chance to kind of have some fun with it. Now, the other thing that I would say in terms of other strategies is one of the biggest challenges you'll feel about working at home is just it often feels like you're working all the time. And you hear that because sometimes if you don't create hard boundaries about when you're working and when you're off, it could often feel like you're always working. So you might be putting in 30 hours a week, but it feels like you're working all the time, and that's because your mental space is just so spread out. So establish those boundaries where you say, okay, you know what, I'm going to try to work from 9 to 3, or I'm going to try to work from 9 to 5, and then call it a day there. But that boundary component is really helpful because it will help isolate your mental space from thinking about everything all the time. Another big challenge I would say that we found with working remotely is it's very normal to feel somewhat isolated. When you're used to kind of being in the office with everybody, it might take a little bit of time to get used to that. I mean, sometimes you have an idea and you could kind of just turn your chair around and have that spur of the moment and share that idea. It's a little bit harder to do that remotely, but it's also not entirely impossible. And there's ways that you can work around that isolation. So whether that's video calls that you could do, you can see like all the nonverbal cues really help people to get engaged. It's what we call creating a virtual water cooler. So when you're in your office, sometimes people getting coffee or tea, they're really like collecting around that area in the office and sharing stories, sharing pictures of their kids. You want to try to recreate that virtually. So if you're using Slack, which I highly recommend, or Trello, or whatever tools or threads online, try to have a dedicated space there just to talk about things that are not work related, so that you can recreate that water cooler, right? That just casual sort of check in and talk. Another strategy that our team likes to use is what we call jam sessions. And what that is there's two types of jam sessions. The first one is you get everybody online and you brainstorm together. You can have a playlist in the background, something, but somebody create that energy online. Another version of that is a jam session where everyone's just working online at the same time. So you're literally all on a call. You don't even have to have video on, but people are just there and you can kind of pop in and pop out when you want. People can casually share stories or chat about things or a joke or whatever it might be, but it kind of stimulates that same idea of having everyone in the same room and that same presence, but it's online. And that we found tends to really help with that isolation piece, is finding a time where everyone can just agree to be online for, some time. To be able to do that really helps with the isolation piece. And of course, this is a good time to just check in, right? If you have a very ambiguous role at work, you're going to feel even more isolated, right? Because you're not sure what your priorities are. You can't easily check in. And this is where you really want to align with your manager, with your supervisor, and just make sure and check in like, is this the most important thing? Are my priorities set in the right way? So that isolation, unfortunately, gets worse when your role is even more unclear. But if you have a clear role, you just can keep pushing and working towards that. So those pieces help with the isolation. Those pieces help with your actual setup. Now, those are the core things, right? Making sure that you have that office space, making sure that you're not wearing your pajamas, you have those boundaries, you're trying to really connect with the team. Now, there's some other tools that I would call like the cherry on the top. Like you want to get all these things done first, right? Most importantly. And then you've got the cherry on the top, which is just some things that help make it a little bit easier. And one of those is very basic things like having a good pair of headphones that you can tune things out. If there's too much noise, you can go to YouTube and find white noise tracks, and that really helps tune people out. Another thing that I highly recommend is webcam covers. I have one actually on my laptop now, and if I slide this, you can't see me. If I open it, you can see me now. And this is if you want a little bit of extra privacy. Sometimes you're not ready for video calls. Sometimes you might accidentally turn on a video call. It can save you some embarrassment. You can really buy these small webcam pieces, and you just literally stick it onto your camera. So little things like that make a difference. They make you feel more comfortable even when you're not always necessarily ready. And a third piece that I would say is really helpful is what I call blue light glasses. So I have a pair right here. What's cool about these is so much of what we're doing now is now online. So for example, if you are, all your work is now online, and then on top of that, your Usar halaqa that was in person is now online, and then you're talking to family online, you could get some really serious eye strain. And having glasses like this that you can find on Amazon help reduce the blue light so you don't have as much eye strain. And there's other tools like this, like Flux, which changes your computer brightness based on the time of day. Little pieces like that will help you kind of optimize your flow, make it easier to do a lot of work when you're online. Now, the final piece I would say, and this is something that most people forget, is your transition routine. So you've had a long day of work, you're not working in your pajamas, you've set up everything that you need to, you have your home environment, you've blocked out noise. When you're getting ready to wrap up your work at the end of the day, you want to have what I call a transition ritual. So what I mean by that is in a traditional environment, your commute home, you coming home, changing, playing with the kids, that creates that ritual where you're able to kind of put work behind you. But when you're at home, that sort of transfers to just you closing your laptop. And sometimes it's not enough buffer time to be able to like switch off and be present with your family. So I highly encourage thinking about what's a good transition ritual that I can set up when my day is done, right? If you're kinesthetically inclined like me, that might be going for a run or doing some a workout after a long day, taking a shower, whatever it might be to kind of help you switch to now being present with your family and give you that buffer space. And the final piece I would say before I'd hand it off to Nadeem is that you have to remember at the end of the day that there's also a great opportunity here to spend time with family. You have that flexibility to have lunch with your spouse during your workday. You have that flexibility to really be at home, and there's a lot of opportunity to really leverage that, inshallah, especially since we spend so much of our time at work. In fact, more than we do with family. So keep that in mind as you're sort of thinking through how do you work remotely and how do you balance that with family. And I think Nadeem will have some great tips to share there.
Jazakumullah khairan, Amani. I'll pick up from where you left off and continue. There'll be some overlap in a few things, but hopefully we'll get there, inshallah. So by way of introduction, so I'm Nadeem Siddiqui. I'm here in Detroit, Michigan. And I've been a MAS member since 1993. So for a long time, you can see a lot of the gray hairs here. Served in different capacities. I also served one term as chairman of the board of MAS National. And currently I also am active with the Family and Youth Institute, the FYI. And I'm sharing a link here in the chat box for a toolkit. that hopefully you guys can also see. So I've been working remotely off and on for the past 12 years, both in my day job as well as with the FYI. The FYI itself is a virtual organization, has been since day one when it formed, and we have people coast to coast in different places, different time zones, and we work well. So there's a lot of things that we have learned in different places, different ways of working that we'd like to share with you. And I said a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about are found in this toolkit that we have on our website. If you go to the fyi.org/toolkit/coronavirus, it's called the Wellbeing Toolkit. And it covers a lot more than just working from home, but that's a great place to get resources in this special time that we're in. So as Amani mentioned, you're working from home. And for those like myself or many others who were working from home even before, this time is different than previous times. Previously, perhaps you were the only one working at home. There are a few of us who both spouses were working from home, and perhaps the children were homeschooled so that everybody was at home together. Most of the time, you'd find that people, one or two people were working from home and other people were out of the house. But at this point, now you've got everybody's at home, like both spouses are at home, all the kids at home. So there's a lot of people in close quarters, and everybody's using the internet together. Everybody's using the kitchen together. There's a lot of resources being used, and obviously some challenges are going to arise. So we have a few tips here. As Amani mentioned, having a clear working space is key. You need to have designated and separate working spaces. Otherwise, it can get really challenging. Now, Amani mentioned putting, curtains up and getting headphones. That's important because you have to really be mindful of others, right? Not only are you working, but other people are also working around you. If you have a loud voice, if you're trying to have private work conversations and somebody's close by, this can become challenging. Think of how you treat your coworkers at work. They wouldn't like it if you're yelling at the top of your voice on a conference call. But you need to be able to stay focused. So, for example, I'll give a personal example here. Anybody who knows me knows I have a very loud voice. It's a natural gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I can use it really well in certain cases. Calling adhan and stuff like that, getting people on time works out. But when you're in close quarters and I'm having my conference call and my wife is, in close by, she's like, you're really loud. I'm trying to have a call too. So you have to be mindful of the working space you're in. Second thing is, when you're having a shared workspace and now that everybody is at home, be generous with one another. You can't just hog the best spot for yourself and leaving your spouse with a suboptimal location. What, I got the desk, which has the best lighting, has the best look around, and then, you go figure something out on the corner of the bed or something. That's not gonna work, right? It's gonna build a lot of resentment in the long run. So you need to work on things that can be fair to both. If there's not enough spaces for everybody, then rotate. You know what? I know Amani said have one designated spot, but you could do maybe week by week or, find another way. But you need to be fair so that everybody has spots. If you have the luxury of having a house with separate rooms, then designated, room number 1 is for this person, room number 2 is for this person, the living room is for this person, and so on and so forth. And then if need be, have a schedule where you rotate through. And keep in mind, it's not just for the spouses, but also keep the children in mind who are now also at home. And they're trying to do their online classes. They need their proper place as well to be able to focus and get their work done. So be fair with everybody. And if you don't do that, it can really bring up a lot of negative feelings. And even if they're not verbalized, you'll find those negative feelings showing up in other forms within family interaction. So you want to curtail that as much as possible. The second thing would be setting times. Having set times for when you're working, when kids are at school, and as appropriate, of course, but it sets a tone and allows for professional work to be done. Again, piggybacking off of what Amani said. Keep in mind that sometimes your work schedules might be flexible. And so one person might start the work really early. Let's say they start at 6 or 7 a.m. And so they finish earlier at 2 or 3. Somebody might, another person also having a flexible schedule may decide, what, I'm going to start later. I'm going to start my work at noon and go later in the evening. What that does is it allows you to spread things, at least for the adults, it allows you to spread yourself out so that when one person is working, the other person can be with the children. And it allows you to tag team, essentially, to spend time with the children, if you have that flexibility. If you don't, then you don't have that choice. You make things work. Now, coming to the children, you want to have as much, generally a structured routine, because it can help, but it all depends on the ages of the children as well, right? Depends on the developmental level of the children and how old they are. If the kids are younger, kids who have ADHD, they may need more breaks. They may need more attention. They may need more hands-on activities. So you may have to set a timer where you're working for 20 minutes and then you walk away for 5 minutes and you go help them with something, and then you come back, you do your stuff for another 20 minutes or 40 minutes, and then you go over to them and help them for 5 minutes. So every 20, 30 minutes or so, somebody is looking after them and helping them refocus, etc. for the younger children. The staggered schedule really works well if you have younger children. Now, home space. Given the volume of activity you're going to have at home, it's only natural, it's only expected. You're going to have a lot more dirty dishes. You're going to have a lot more use of the living room. So be mindful of that, right? Everybody needs to chip in and help out. Nobody's a servant who's going to clean up after somebody else. So we shouldn't have clothes lying around all over the place. The living room should not be a mess just because you spent time working there. You had your lunch, you were in a hurry to catch a meeting, you left the dishes really dirty in a nasty spot. That really shouldn't be happening. We all need to think about one another and helping to clean up. Everyone's responsible. Everybody has that mess that they're making, and they can chip in. Especially if you have older children, middle school, high school, college kids, they can take turns, not in just cleaning up, but even making dinner, doing other chores around the house. So everybody's together in it, and we're all looking after this working zone that we have now, which is also called our house. With the special opportunity that you've had, be very flexible and really benefit from this opportunity. There are too many people who live totally separate lives under the same roof. We don't want to be like that. We want to be in the same roof, living a connected life where we're all together. Amani mentioned a great tip. If you have lunchtime, try to have lunch or brunch with not just your spouse, but with the kids, everybody together. Sometimes we dream of doing Jama'ah prayers with our family together, and because of work, because of different circumstances, we just can't. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, has blessed us with this opportunity that all 5 salawat, we can do it in Jama'ah at home with the family together. It's a blessing if we were to take use of that opportunity. We're not commuting anymore. So the commuting time that we had in the morning and the evening, that is now available to you to spend with the family. But do it in a mindful fashion. You need to actively engage with one another. So you take the example with children, right? They're bored in some ways because they don't have their friends from school. There's only so much you can chat online with, but you used to spend a lot of time playing with them. So come up with a routine. I can tell you in our family, for example, we have a routine that we have dinner after Asr. We pray Asr together. Now that Asr on the East Coast, at least in Detroit, is around, we pray around 7 o'clock. We pray Asr and then we eat dinner. And right after dinner at 8 o'clock, we pray Maghrib. And between Maghrib and Isha is our family bonding time. We play a board game together. Younger kids like to play Gaga ball. We go into an open area and, playing ball with them. Whatever works for your family. If you want to do a jigsaw puzzle together, you want to play Scrabble, some other type of activity, spend that time meaningfully bonding with the family, because now you have less stress of driving or commuting. So you can really capitalize on this time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you with. As you're doing all that, keep in mind that you also want to have time for yourself. And so keep some time for yourself where you are able to reflect and reconnect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So spend 5-10 minutes, every now and then, just spending by yourself, reflecting and thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all the blessings and, all of these different webinars night after night. All the shuyukh who have come before us keep reminding us of all the blessings and the ni'am that we have from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We really need to be thankful for that. So be mindful of that individually as well as collectively. As you're looking through this and you're planning your day-to-day, week-to-week activities, be adaptive in your plan. Don't be overly strict. it's an intense environment that we're in. People are having a lot of different feelings. Things are changing day to day. And so be mindful of that and be adaptive to the circumstances. Have the kids especially do things around the house. With older kids, they can take on special projects that they've always wanted to. They want to learn web design. Well, get a class online, web design, scrapbooking maybe, or something they've always wanted to do, or have one of the kids, you know what, the last time we were on a family trip together, you took those 2,000 photographs, but you didn't get a chance to put the album together. So, hey, take these photos together and put an album together. For the younger ones, have lots of toys available. Maybe even put your desk in the living room, in the play area. Let them play around you. And even if they come up in the middle of the meeting, it's okay. Everybody's at home. You know, show up, hey, this is my little kid. And everybody else will show off their little kid. I mean, I got to see 3 or 4 of my coworkers' little babies for the first time because we're all working from home. So it's a great way to get to know one another. Nap times is great to schedule meetings, keeping different types of toys around so you can rotate so the kids don't get bored. Again, we're talking about toddlers. So again, just to summarize, I mean, I know we're short of time. This is a topic that's it's pretty long. There's a lot of things. Sometimes maybe some days might be rougher than others. Try to stay focused that, you know what, after one day comes the next. There's always an upside that's coming up. Yes, everyone's at home, but you get to spend that quality time with one another. You get to have meals together. You get to do these bonding activities together. And even if you have challenges, everybody else is doing the same thing. One last thing that I want to point out is that keep things in perspective, especially as adults. Sometimes, you know, we have a certain perspective and we think everybody else is having the same perspective. We're projecting onto the others. So this thing is being shared around online, and perhaps some of you have seen this, but, you know, 10, 15, 20 years from now, one of your kids is going to come back and say, hey, you know, Mom, Dad, in history class, we learned about that COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. It was really bad. What was that like? And the parents are like, what? Don't you remember? Everything got shut down. You know, we were trying to kill that virus. The whole planet had to stay at home, and people weren't following those orders. So they kept going out to the beaches, and then it lasted longer than it should have. A lot of people died that they shouldn't have. Grocery stores were restricting. You could only have 2 cans per person. We couldn't buy toilet paper for a whole month. We were scared the economy was going to collapse and we're all going to die. Don't you remember? You were 8 or 10 years old. And the kid's going to go, huh, you know, all I remember is the school was closed. We were being homeschooled. We did a whole bunch of activities around the house. We did scavenger hunts. And we ate meals together as a family. You know, we don't remember a lot of times when we did that, but we actually ate meals together. I remember getting a ton of sleep because I didn't have to wake up early for homework. I remember playing a ton of board games. I remember watching our Imam on our laptop giving a talk for the first time. I didn't think the old Imam could ever do that. He did that. Honestly, that was the best time I can think of from my childhood. Perspective, right? We're thinking of this as this most harrowing time, but the kid that's around you might take a very different perspective. So don't kill that perspective. Don't lose that perspective. Build on it for yourself and the family, inshallah. Again, one last time, that toolkit that we shared online, you have the link for it. It has a lot more information. I encourage you guys to go there and check it out.
Jazakallah khair to both of you. You guys can hear me, right?
We can hear you.
All right. So Jazakallah khair to both of you. May Allah bless you. Those were excellent advice. And again, the FYI has excellent toolkits, not only for this current crisis, but there's a Ramadan prep one. We'll be talking more about that in the coming weeks, I hope. And mashallah, you know, Launch Good, I can't even begin to describe what kind of experience that's been. So may Allah bless you, Amani, and everything your team is doing, everything you're doing, and to continue put blessing in it. It's an incredible you know, resource for the community, and I hope people go on there, create more campaigns, and create more opportunities to go above and beyond, not only for themselves but to really help other people. So Jazakallah khair, I think this was great advice. Obviously, there's a lot of different situations that we're addressing here, so we're hoping tonight that this is one of the circumstances we've had different speakers come on and speak about the different types of messages, how that we could resonate for us as individuals. Some of us, to be honest, some of us do have to go back to work. Some of us are maybe in the front lines in a medical field, or one of those individuals working in a grocery store. There's no way around, working in a grocery store. You can't do that from home. Well, they haven't. Amazon isn't dropping off, items from drones just yet. But so may Allah make it easy for those people and anyone that's in that situation. So I hope the advice that was shared here is in particular about these opportunities that we can leverage, and even going beyond what we can do for our own family. We should start to think about those neighbors around us, those community members that we know, whether it's someone who's elderly that might be living alone. You now have more time to give them a call. Whether it's someone down the block that you think might need access to resources, or might need just a hand, maybe a single mother or a single father, or just a family that could use that help. You now have more time as well, and you and your family can do that together, taking some of the advice, and hopefully the advice here has provided some direction there. I'll take one quick question before we start to wrap up, and it's only because it's my own question. But jumping back to you, Amani, just quickly. So what is a good suggestion that you have for someone to be able to have a good morning routine, to be able to kick their day off and have a productive day? What's something that's your advice there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you should practice what you preach, but I also believe you should keep practicing what you're preaching as well, right? Is one way to put it, because this is a hard one, which is not to check your messages first thing in the morning. Because oftentimes, we go to sleep, we don't really have a good sort of routine to calm down, and sort of your brain is just on fire all day, right? So to help you fall asleep, there's so much out there about just being able to do activities that can help you unwind, that won't be stimulating intellectually. So that helps, of course, like reading something that's not going to be so intellectual. But then I find that in the morning, the first thing you want to do is really ideally your athkar, right? Like you're waking up and just saying, Alhamdulillah, I'm alive again. And starting with your athkar, not necessarily opening up your phone and checking your Slack messages, because what happens is you're still waking up and you've already had work enter into your mental space. And so one of the habits that I've been trying to build into my routine is to actually have some time to read in the morning if I'm able to. So you're anyways reading news when you're getting your breakfast. You might as well actually read something that you can build on versus just sort of what happened yesterday and the day before. And it tends to be all the same anyways. So a good way to kick that habit off is to really try to set some intentional time to do your mathurat. And that could just be 2 verses. It could just be 2 du'as. It doesn't have to be the whole, list. And then of course, connect that to a habit you already have, and that's how you link that habit. So if you eat breakfast every day, that's an easy way to just link that mathurat to it right after, or reading that book.
Jazakallah khair, I appreciate that. Thank you again. Amani Kilawi, both Nadeem Siddiqui, Amani Kilawi, mass members, of course, but each of you individually working on amazing programs. Amani Kilawi with Launch Good and Nadeem Siddiqui with the FYI. We have your references linked here, and I'll hand you guys off here, remove you guys from the video. Bring on, inshallah, Sheikh Omar Jabi as we do the closing dua. And one parting advice for Nadeem: I heard someone recording in a closet because it's supposed to dampen the sound with the clothes and everything in there. So if that helps with the loud voice, maybe the closet will be a space to not to confine you too much, but at least to help with the noise production. Jazakallah khair again. May Allah bless you both. And we'll be in touch.
I hope Samir didn't hear that.
Okay. All right. Assalamu alaikum. So I have, inshallah, Sheikh Omar Jabi joining me back up in just a moment, and we'll have a closing dua. I also want to again, thank our sponsors, Islamic Relief USA and Mercy Without Limits, and thank you everyone for who's joining here on Crowdcast and the livecast. Everyone joining on YouTube and Facebook. May Allah bless you and your families. I saw in the messages here some people mentioning the different individuals within the mass community, within the Muslim community. Brother Khalid from Mass Queens, Dar al Dawa. da'wah and other members in the family and the community across the country, that as we're starting to notice, that's picking up, and you might now know someone who has the virus, or you might know someone now who, God forbid, has passed. May Allah have mercy on them. Inshallah, we'll make a dua together tonight in Arabic and shortly in English as well. And I have, inshallah, Sheikh Omar joining me back here. So let's see here. Sheikh Omar. Let's get him back on, and hopefully the audio is all resolved here. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let's see here. Okay. So he'll be joining us just momentarily again. And again, this program, I think someone asked earlier if I was not clear, this program is continuing. We have another great session tomorrow night with where we're doing a partnership and a collaboration with the Yaqeen Institute. MashaAllah, Omar Suleiman will be back on with us. We have Ustada Lubna Mullah from California, former director of the Mass Tarbiyah Department, and also on the board of Yaqeen Institute. We have Hossam al-Jabri from Boston, serving in the Boston community, also a former executive director of Muslim American Society. So we have a really great panel tomorrow night that'll be discussing how to get small groups organized in this virtual time, your usar, your harakas, your conviction circles, and how to sort of improve their ability to output action. So I'll share some more thoughts there, but I have Sheikh Omar back with us. So Bismillah, Sheikh Omar will close out with just a couple of minutes of dua, inshallah.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين اللهم لك الحمد كله ولك الشكر كله وإليك يرجع الأمر كله علانيته وسره فأهل أنت أن تحمد وأهل أنت أن تعبد وأنت على كل شيء قدير اللهم لك الحمد بكل نعمة أنعمت بها علينا في قديم أو حديث أو خاصة أو عامة أو سر أو علانية لك الحمد بالإسلام ولك الحمد بالإيمان ولك الحمد بالقرآن ولك الحمد بالمال والأهل والمعافاة تبت عدونا وأظهرت أمننا وجمعت فرقتنا ومن كل ما سألناك ربنا أعطيتنا فلك الحمد على ذلك حمدا كثيرا ولك الشكر شكرا كثيرا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت فإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك إنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت ولك الحمد على ما قضيت ولك الشكر على ما أعطيت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا جاهلا إلا علمته ولا مسافرا إلا حفظته ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة هي لك رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا أعنتنا على قضائها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا ولوالدينا رب ارحمهم كما ربونا صغارا اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من الفتن ما ظهر منها وما بطن اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من الفتن ما ظهر منها وما بطن برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم إنا نسألك من الخير كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين ونعوذ بك من الشر كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك وأنعم على عبدك ورسولك محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Jazakallahu khairan again, Sheikh Omar Jabi. Thank you again. We have your contact information and your Instagram posted here. We encourage everyone to check out his great work there. Again, I want to thank Dr. Nadeem Siddiqui from the FYI, as well as Sister Amani Kilawi from Launch Good. Both, longtime mass members and really doing a great job in their communities and in their programs. We ask Allah to bless them and their families. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We thank you for joining us tonight. We'll be on again tomorrow night. Inshallah, if you like anything that you saw here, please continue to support us. You can click the button here, become a sustainer. Only $10 a month to become a sustainer for Muslim American Society. There's a beautiful opportunity for us to continue this program and other programs. We have some great projects coming up in the future. But just remember, tomorrow night we'll be here again, same time, inshallah, with Yaqeen Institute, with Omar Suleiman, Imam Omar Suleiman, Ustad Lubna Mullah, and Brother Hossam Al-Jabri. And in addition, we have youth programs that are kicking off with Muhammad Kibriya and the youth team, and that is tomorrow night, inshallah. That will be at 7:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern and 4:30 Pacific. Mass Youth Talent Live. So check that out. Again, you can go to MuslimAmericanSociety.org to get all the rest of this information. Thank you again. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.